Hello, it's 2 p.m. on Tuesday, the 7th of March 2023. On today's show, I speak to Muhammad SAIFUDDIN Ali. He's the Director of Research and Conservation at the National Landscape Department. He talks to us in conjunction with the National Landscape Day 2023. But just before that, I'll be checking in with Datuk Kumararajah to get his perspective on today's trending stories. I'm Jessy Chahal, coming to you live from Wisma Bernama right here in the city centre, Kuala Lumpur. You're watching The Brief on Bernama TV. This Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim wants the Finance Ministry to uplift its dignity and be feared for its strict principles and governance. Speaking at the ministry's monthly assembly today, Anwar said staff of the ministry should carry out their tasks strictly. The MOF staff should also not allow malpractice like cheating or taking advantage of contracts for personal gains. In the meantime, the Prime Minister says he will interact with all 106 Malaysian heads of diplomatic missions abroad today in Putrajaya during an interaction session themed Diplomacy in a Globalised World from the Lens of Malaysia Madani. It is the Prime Minister's first engagement with the Malaysian heads of diplomatic mission. We now shift our focus to the floods. The number of evacuees in the 3 states that have been hit by floods has dropped slightly, with 42,909 people still at 234 relief centres this morning. And in other news, the Communications and Digital Ministry will call up the telegram service provider soon to discuss issues involving the application, especially regarding security of users. Now, according to its Minister, Fahmi Fazil, although Telegram is used by many, including the National Security Council, to share information, the government say that they will not compromise when it involves issue of public security. And Senator Datuk Ras Adiba Razzie was announced yesterday as one of the 2023 International Women of Courage Award recipients on March 8 at the White House in Washington, United States. According to the statement, Ras Adiba has spent most of her professional life advancing and promoting human rights, selflessly advocating for vulnerable populations and using her platforms to shed light on injustices within the Malaysian society. Well, at this time, I'm joined by Kumararajah to talk about the trending stories. Welcome back here on The Brief. At least 10 major Malaysian companies are looking at a possibility of making major investments in development projects in Indonesia's new capital, known as Nusantara. This was told to the Dewan Rakyat earlier today. The Prime Minister said 9 major companies from the peninsula, one in Sarawak, are seriously looking at the possibility of making these investments. What is the significance from this investment to our country, Ati?
This is basically coming off his earlier trip, Jessy, in January, early January, when our Prime Minister visited, the first visit to Indonesia, and he actually signed 10 MOUs, and this is part of the larger $1.66 billion investment that Malaysian companies are doing. And the areas that we're really starting off is actually in construction, infrastructure, in energy across the border. And this is something that many Malaysian companies can take advantage of. Because don't forget, Indonesia's presence in Kalimantan is really going to change the game, because you've got Sabah and Sarawak, which is East Malaysia, there with low GDP growth or lower base at least. And now with the influx of this huge capital that's expected coming. Now, what we read about Nusantara is it's going to be 4 times the size of Jakarta, and it's going to take an investment of close to 140 billion ringgit. Only 20% coming from government. So the balance 80% comes from a public-private partnership model. So you expect a lot of foreign investments to come in, and that will really spur us. So it is good that we also starting to focus on Sabah Sarawak And we also have now Kalimantan. And actually, I will quote what PMX said when he met President Jokowi. He said President Jokowi has done more for Sabah Sarawak than he can do as Prime Minister for Sabah Sarawak, primarily because of placing the new capital there.
Right. Insightful indeed. Of course, this is exciting. It also seems it's inclusive in terms of who will be making these investments, progress for the country. But something else the Prime Minister has highlighted this week is also the fact that he says stable political administration and clear national policies are the key factors why AWS, or the Amazon Web Services, has chosen Malaysia as its investment destination. Big news here, AT. Now, this investment of 25.5 billion ringgit will go up to the year 2037, is going to have a high impact and obviously will boost FDI as well here in the country and confidence, investor confidence. So what will be among the implications at this point of these investments? How can the government then bring more high quality investments like this into our economic landscape?
So this is basically one of those plethora of new, good news that's really coming through the pipeline, right? So all these investment aspirations, which were probably anchored earlier years, now since we are coming really out of COVID, I think many global investors are actually making calls, and Tesla's presence in Malaysia is one big advantage. I mean, that was already news last week. And again, after Amazon announced that they're investing this 25 billion. Now, understand that Microsoft has already got one large infra project, basically their data center running out of Sedanak in Johor. Now, that being said, Amazon's presence really again boosts the confidence that Malaysia is really on the map of many global investors. I think like the word that you mentioned, confidence, that's basically bringing that back to the market. And that is what I think PM was trying to say in Parliament, to say, look, because of the presence of a very stable government, we have a lot of investors knocking at our door. Because the days of giving all the incentives is actually, we are done with all that, right? Because incentives have already become commoditized. So if really we need to focus on what our real national priorities, and those national investment priorities are what we should aspire for. High income jobs, high investment, increased complexity as the word that's used, to ensure that we have got a lot of SMEs and the companies that are Malaysian based would actually benefit from this.
PMX Anwar Ibrahim, of course, has the challenge of reawakening and reclaiming that title, Asian Tiger, and perhaps with this initiatives, we may be headed in the right direction. AT, thanks for your insight. We'll check in with you again. Well, it's time now for a quick break. When I come back, I have with me Muhammad SAIFUDDIN Ali. He's the Director of Research and Conservation at the National Landscape Department, Ministry of Local Government Development. We speak to him in conjunction with National Landscape Day 2023. Stay tuned.
Dalam kita membangunkan aplikasi yang memberi kesejahteraan kepada negara, ada yang menyalahgunakannya. Sejak kebelakangan ini, terdapat peningkatan ketara dalam penyebaran maklumat atau berita palsu yang boleh menimbulkan kekeliruan dan kegusaran di kalangan masyarakat. Ancaman berita palsu tanpa verifikasi sumber, fakta dan maklumat memberi impak serta implikasi negatif kepada rakyat dan negara. Sebarang penyebaran berita palsu akan dikenakan tindakan undang-undang serta didakwa mengikut Seksyen 505 Kanun Keseksaan dan Seksyen 233 Akta Komunikasi dan Multimedia 1998. Denda maksimum RM50,000 atau penjara tidak melebihi 1 tahun atau kedua-duanya, dan juga denda selanjutnya setiap hari kesalahan berjumlah RM1,000. Bersama, cegah berita palsu. Sebar fakta, bukan dusta. Tidak pasti, jangan kongsi.
Welcome back. Thanks for being with me right here on The Brief. It's now time to bring in our feature guest for today in conjunction with National Landscape Day 2023. We will try to get our guests on the line in just a moment. For now, let's move on to what's trending and what's the latest updates in our business brief. The ringgit has opened marginally higher against the US dollar today as the greenback took a breather following a small pullback in Treasury yields yesterday and ahead of the US Federal Reserve's semi-annual monetary report to Congress. Today, $1 is 4 ringgit 47 sen. And as we move on to the stock market, Bursa Malaysia has rebounded, opening slightly higher today ahead of Bank Negara Malaysia's interest rate decision in the next 2 days. According to an analyst, the benchmark FBM KLCI inched up 0.88 of a point to 1453.56 from yesterday's close of 1452.68. And here's a comment from Tengku Zafrul. The proposed investments by two industry giants, Tesla and AWS or Amazon Web Services, will bring positive economic spillover to the country and create high-quality job opportunities. And the Deputy Finance Minister, Datuk Seri Ahmad Maslan, says Malaysia will not experience an economic downturn this year despite global uncertainties. His reason is this: for a technical economic recession to happen, there would have to be 2 consecutive quarters of contraction. Moving on to what's happening internationally, Pakistan will be required to give an assurance that its balance of payments deficit is fully financed for the fiscal year ending in June to unlock the next tranche of IMF funding. The funding is critical for its economy, which is facing a balance of payment crisis.
डॉक्यूमेंटेशन चाहिए उसी सारी
And here's a quick recap on the news in brief. Earlier today, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim wants the Ministry of Finance to uplift its dignity and be feared for its strict principles of governance. Now, he said this at the Ministry's monthly assembly, which took place earlier today, saying that staff of the Ministry should carry out their task strictly. Now, the MOF staff should not allow any form of malpractice like cheating or taking advantage of contracts for personal gain. In the meantime, the Prime Minister will be interacting with all 106 Malaysian heads of diplomatic missions abroad. This is the Prime Minister's first engagement with the Malaysian heads of diplomatic mission. And as we move on, our focus now shifts to the floods. The number of evacuees in 3 states hit by floods has dropped slightly, with 42,909 people still at 234 relief centres or PPS as of this morning. And in other news from the Communications and Digital Ministry, it says that it will call up the Telegram service provider to discuss issues involving the app, especially regarding security of users. Now, the app is also being used by many, including the National Security Council, to share information. But the government still says at this point the government will not compromise when it involves any form of issue of public security. And as promised, our guest is joining us right now, Encik Muhammad Saifuddin Ali from the Ministry of Local Government Department is on the line. Encik Muhammad Saifuddin, thanks for being with us. Of course, it's National Landscape Day. This will be happening soon and will be celebrated at the Amphitheatre or Laman Sejahtera in Ipoh, Perak. It runs from the 10th of March right up till the 12th, and this event will be officiated by the Prime Minister himself. Brief us a little bit about the National Landscape Day this year.
Hi, Jessy, thank you for inviting me for this the brief segment, and I would like to here to promote the about National Landscape Day in Perak, Taman Dwi Srinivasagam, from 10 to 12 March 2023. And we are going to have a lot of amazing activities over there. We have garden display. We're going to have the Green Urban Forum and many more activities. We would like to ask all communities and residents in Ipoh especially, and of course people around Malaysia to come and celebrate National Landscape Day together with us.
That's right. We think about landscape, of course, we think greenery, we think environment, and again, such important aspects for healthy, well-balanced living in urban areas. With National Landscape Day, there has a theme that's been chosen, Landscape Berkualiti Malaysia Madani. Tell us a bit more about that.
All right. Talking about the tagline, Landscape Berkualiti Malaysia Madani, I would like to stress here, back in time before BC, we have, if you can remember, that the civilization is called Mesopotamia last time, and one of the most iconic monuments in that civilization was the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. With that historical and the humans ever erected the first gardens of the universe. So we knew that the civilization is all about civilized society and related to the Madani itself. So that's why this tagline is being chosen, and with the Malaysia Madani pillars, from the sustainability, the diversity, and all the manners, we are going to emphasize that the civil society to celebrate the National Landscape Day.
Wonderful. I think this is such an important and integral part of highlighting the importance of preserving, our environment, being proud of our flora, fauna as well. Could you explain the significance between the theme and civil society or Malaysia Madani? How do we differentiate this, or is it part of one?
Oh, yeah. Talking about that, the idea of Madani is the manifestations to celebrate the diversity, living harmoniously, and respect each other. And the most important thing is the spirit, what we call that, the Latin process as spiritus corps. So I like to stress here that united civil society who lives in harmony, and they work together to maintain their surrounding and keep their community clean, and at the same time the quality of landscape can be materialized.
Right. How would you say national celebrations like this, as we observe National Landscape Day, what does this do to encourage more biodiversity, or how does this help the ecosystem at large?
For your information, our department, our objective is to achieve the most beautiful garden nation, so that we have 5 programs in our department, which is we have a park development program, landscape development program, industrial development and promotional program, landscape management program, and but last and not least is research and development program. With that, we are encouraged every agency, especially on the private sector and also the NGOs, to collaborate with us in order to make the public parks and also the Malaysia to give more greenery, like a tree planting campaign and something like that.
That's right. As we go back to the National Landscape Day celebration happening from the 10th to the 12th of March in Ipoh, Perak, you can find it at the Laman Sejahtera. This is a very busy area, especially on weekends. What suggestions do you have for people intending to go and they want to access this location in the morning when there could be some traffic jam?
Don't worry, we're going to prepare for 600 parking lots over there. But then I would suggest to public to get the public transport to get the Taman Dwi Srinivasagam to reach the Taman to reach the site itself.
Okay, so it's going to be an interesting day, or interesting weekend rather. What particularly events would you like to highlight for people to come?
Oh yes, the highlights is on the 11th of March, 2023, which is the official ceremony by our Prime Minister, Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim, and we have a lot more activities like garden display. We're going to have the barista latte art, the semi-acoustics, busking, some kind of the semi-concert, and of course the Green Urban Forum, and some plants demonstration, something like that. So I think to the public, it might get them interest with this thing.
That's right, indeed. I can only imagine people are going to flock to this event over that weekend, 11th to the 12th of March in Ipoh, Perak. Families and, of course, children, very exciting as well. What is the overall mission in conjunction with National Landscape Department's celebration of the National Landscape Day in its mission to green the country?
Yeah, of course. Our objective is to make the Malaysia is the most beautiful garden nation, and we would like to take part, and we would like to encourage all publics to join our program in terms of the tree planting campaign, the preservation, and of course, since we have a core projects like building the parks, and also to breed the new plantings, something like that. So we think that by having this program to encourage people, and at the same time we inculcate the culture of landscaping itself.
That's right. And what we've seen actually coming out of the MCO time is a lot of people got very much interested in the green spaces around them. Everyone was interested in gardening, preserving the environment, and also, really enjoying the finer things, which I would call it in life, which is our biodiversity, our ecosystem, our clean environment, just the beautiful greenery that we have here in Malaysia. Of course, the tagline this time, or the motto is Landscape Berkualiti Malaysia Madani. It's a tie-in for civil society as well as to raise more awareness and educate Malaysians about the importance of having a more greener space around us, a better landscape. The tagline, Landscaping the Nation. What efforts would you say the government has made towards this goal?
Well, for your information, since 1997, National Landscape Department, as is the federal government, has built 62 public parks all over Malaysia and more than 500 landscaping developments in township area in Malaysia. For that, I would like to stress that we have successfully developed about more than 23,000 acres of public parks nationwide by 2018. This means National Landscape Department contributes about 14.26% of the total open space targets by 2023. But the number is, I might think, lower than the actual target with some circumstances such as land matters and land matters. So therefore, to achieve the target of 1,042,368 acres, is more land needs to be developed as a green area. We are trying to searching for the empty space that provided by the local council that to be developed as the public space and the landscaping parts, and at the same time going to green the country.
Before I let you off, I know there's a lot of work to be done in conjunction with what's happening this weekend. What is your message to Malaysia?
I would like to stress again to promote that to all Malaysians, please come to Taman Ria Srinivasagam from 10 to 12 of March 2023 to celebrate National Landscape Department. Bring over your family, your kids, and your friends together, and with us. We have a lot of amazing activities over there. So please do come, and we're going to give you a free gift as well. And just enjoy the weekend with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Saifuddin Ali there, of course. Thank you. In conjunction with the National Landscape Day 2023, we'll speak to you soon from the Ministry of Local Government and Development, sharing with us about an eventful weekend happening in Ipoh, Perak. It's time to wrap up this edition, but just before that, let me tell you what's trending on Twitter. If you don't already know, I think this is going to be talked about for the next month or so. I'm already receiving a lot of messages. Hashtag Liverpool is still trending in the #1 spot here in Malaysia. It seems like Liverpool fans are all over the moon on the professional football club's latest victory. Some call it a trashing of sorts, 7-0. Well, if you're a Liverpool fan. Well, that's all the time I have for now. I'm Jessy Chahal. Thank you so much for joining me right here on The Brief and catching us on Bernama TV. Keep it locked on for more updates coming your way. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Alhamdulillah, syukur kepada Allah SWT kalau saya dapat mula menjalankan tugas. Keutamaan saya sekarang ialah kos sara hidup.
Hari ini 4 Mac 2023, genaplah 100 hari Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim sebagai Perdana Menteri ke-10. Tempoh 100 hari sememangnya bukan satu masa yang panjang, namun cukup memadai untuk memperlihatkan hala tuju dan komitmen beliau memastikan Malaysia kembali mengaum sebagai harimau Asia menerusi gagasan Malaysia Madani yang diperkenalkan. Berdasarkan kajian dilakukan Merdeka Center bulan lepas, 68% rakyat negara ini berpuas hati dengan prestasi Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim menerajui negara. Sejurus lepas mengangkat sumpah sebagai Perdana Menteri, Anwar ketika sidang media pertamanya memberi jaminan kerajaan yang dibentuk tidak akan bertolak ansur dalam menjamin hak kewarganegaraan, peluang mengiktiraf hak semua kaum, agama dan wilayah di negara ini. Ahli Parlimen Tambun itu turut memperkenalkan hala tuju kerajaan perpaduan serta menubuhkan Majlis Tindakan Pelaksanaan Perjanjian Malaysia 1963 bagi menyelesaikan